Hey, what's going on, guys? How y'all doing today? I had quite a few of you asking me in my past couple drift builds if I knew how or if I could make a grip build. This is one of the grip builds I started out, and I specifically had one viewer asking if I knew how to make a cheap grip build. So, this car cost $98,000 in the dealership. The first thing I want to show you guys is coming down to the rim size. So looking at these front rims, I'm not gonna show, going down on the rear because it's pointless. But see, you come down, let's see, I think the sports, I don't know where the stock one was, but yeah, you look at the grip percentage right here, you can see you're losing 0.6 grip. Then you come back to my actual size, and you can see that you got 1.08 on the grip. But I went with the maximum size on the 17s because if you go up higher on the diameter, then it feels like you're starting to lose power, most likely because of rotating mass, and they probably added that into the game as kind of like simulation. But I went with the 345/35 17s, same as the rear, so that way you're getting a lot more grip. And if you look underneath the car, you can see how fat and wide those tires are. Then the spacers. I came down one size on the spacers just to get the fitment into the wheel wells. Same with the rear. And then the tires. I went with the smallest profile because otherwise they're just huge, bulky, and like I also said, more rotating mass. Now this may work out like here if you're doing a drag build, putting some big fatties on there. I don't know how well that would work out, but I just went with the lowest tire profile so that way it's less rotating mass and it also fits inside of the wheel well. And then for the suspension parts, you want front suspension arms. I didn't do any stabilizers on this car because I didn't plan on using it very long. I might make a drift build out of it, but you want to do your suspension arms so that way you can adjust camber. Braking system is very important when it comes to a grip build because you need to be able to stop. When you're doing 180, 200 miles or kilometers in this game, they haven't given us miles per hour yet, but when you're driving at a fast pace, you need to be able to slow down. Rear suspension arms, and then the springs. Now, if you're planning on using this car throughout the entire campaign, I would just burn your street coins and go through some ultimate. And for the body, one thing a lot of people don't know, put Racing Plus tires on and then put front aerodynamics. I don't have the aerodynamics on this specific car because my R34, like I said, that's my main campaign car that I'm going through right now. I got that built up to C5 right now and I'm finishing out the campaign with that vehicle. But I have ultimate aero and you can see this does not change your class rating, only your basic visual rating. I don't know if you guys remember Need for Speed Underground, but you had to have your vehicle at a specific visual rating to continue throughout the campaign. That's basically what this is. There is no cap to any class, so you could have a 1000 rating and still make it into every single class as long as you're not above that specific C class. But if I was you guys, I would put the ultimate aero on, then come into tuning for your aero and put your aerodynamics all the way up. And you'll see that once you put that on, that'll be unlocked. And then as for the tuning on the suspension, I dropped the spring length down quite a bit to bring the center of gravity down. And you can see your center of gravity right here. And then the spring stiffness. I upped the spring stiffness one notch. I actually brought the camber in a notch because I felt that it was just way too much. When I was looking, just looking at the car, you could see that the camber was like, it just looked insane. And then the steering angle I put to the max on all of my grip builds because like you get up into the Togi area, there's a Togi championship for C2. You're going to need a lot of steering angle for that area. Otherwise, when you're going through those real tight toge areas, you're not going to be able to turn around those corners where you like got to come down into first gear and really get down on it. the Evos and stuff like that are just gonna whoop you like it's nothing. Toe I didn't touch. Braking force. This is what I was telling you guys about why brakes are important. Up your braking force, put your brake balance to 55. I was experimenting with this, trying to put it towards the front a little bit more, but it seemed like I actually lost braking distance, so I just brought it back to 55, and this feels like a good balance point. And then rear spring length. For this specific build, I dropped the rear spring length all the way down just to level the car out. Because otherwise then it's sitting almost like a drag car, and that's not good. You want your center of gravity to be as it says, center of gravity. You need it centered as possible, and you need your car as low as possible without dragging the ground. And if you go much lower than what this vehicle is, like if I were to go to the front springs and slam them all the way, the front end will be dragging as you're going uphill through the toge areas, and then it'll massively drop your speed down, so I definitely don't recommend doing that. And then the spring stiffness, I upped one notch just to get rid of some of the body roll. And then the rear camber, when I dropped the spring length down as low as I did on this vehicle, and it's not going as far as what, you know, the ultimate suspension was, which is why I dropped it so low on this specific build. But if you go with the ultimate suspension, I would probably come down to like the second to the last notch or something like that, or maybe like right here, I'm not sure. You know, just depends on how the car feels to you. Experiment with going up and down a little bit and adjust your spring stiffness. You want to have a little bit of body roll. Like when you're physically looking at the car and you're turning back and forth, you want to see the car dip about 2 inches. Because if you make the car too stiff when you're going through like toge areas, or you're going through like rough, bumpy, elevational areas where you're going through dips and divots and stuff like that, if the car's too stiff, then the suspension's actually not going to work, and it's just going to literally force you to spin out. I figured that out real quick when I was playing Gran Turismo years ago, and you know, coming into Forza, I've played with all of, you know, tunings and stuff since the first Gran Turismo and the first Forzas came out. And then your rear camber, I actually upped this one notch because you want to have just a slight little bit of camber for a grip build on the rear. You don't want to have it level, because when you're turning around corners, the tires actually move in real life anyways. But they also apply this into like simulation type games, and I would consider this a simcade. So when I was adjusting the camber, and I've played with these tunings for like an hour, just going and driving around the city until I got what I felt was good. And as you saw, like in the beginning of the video, I was just swerving back and forth. I can literally just go full blown turning, hitting the gas wide open, and I can go through like some of the toge sections with no traction control, dump the clutch, and the car still will not like get sideways, it won't get loose. That's how grippy this build is. Now when you get up into like, you know, that 500 horse range, you start getting into like C4, C5, C6, yeah, no matter what, you're going to be able to get loose, but that's where you start having them aerodynamics come into play. I hope that this helps you out a little bit, guys. I didn't do any of the dampening or anything like that because this is just like a budget grift build to start you guys out. But once you get into like C3 or C4, I would definitely recommend maxing out the rest of all of your suspension parts, because it is going to help you guys. And then also, I would make sure that you do those aerodynamics, because once you get up into C3, you start getting into the 200-kilometer ranges, and you start coming across some high-speed highway races, and you're going to need it. But I'm going to get out of here, guys. I don't want to waste too much of your time. I hope you guys enjoy the grip build. This isn't my normal video, so I'm kind of like not used to doing like explaining all of this stuff and what everything does. I hope that I can help at least a couple of you out. I'm going to get out of here. You guys have a great day, and I will catch you in the next video.